Okay, in this video, we're going to continue building this vacation class and all the inheritance hierarchy that we've been talking about in previous videos. And that's this whole diagram, inheritance hierarchy diagram. We've built the vacation class, which is the super class. It's the highest in the diagram of all of these classes. We've built the flight class, which is a subclass of vacation. Remember, a subclass will take all of the code really from its superclass from the vacation. And I'll start this video on the cruise class. That's where we're going to begin. So I'm going to build a new class called cruise. Okay, and inside of this cruise class, I'm going to be creating cruise objects. So I'm going to create my instance variables. I'm going to have a string that is going to represent my cruise line, whichever cruise line I choose to be on. I'm going to have a integer, which is number of stops. I'm going to keep track of how many stops we're going to make on our cruise. And I'm going to have another integer called cabin number, which is really like my room number at a hotel. And then I'm going to make my constructor method. So I'm going to build cruises. This time, let's see, cruises are going to take in a cruise line name, and they're going to take an integer called a number for number of stops, and they're going to take in an integer, I'll call it CN for cabin number. And then so this has parameters. This constructor is not a default constructor. This is an actual cruise constructor method. It does not set default values. And so I will need to assign these. The cruise line will equal to whatever the user passes me for C. The number of stops is going to equal whatever they pass me, which is N. And the cabin number is going to be whatever they pass me for CN. And I have my cruise set up. So it's just my simple cruise object. It's going to track my cruise. Now, remember, my cruise is a vacation. Back here, my cruise is a vacation. So the cruise would like to use all of the vacation information. It wants to know cost, the number of days, and am I out of town, and all of that kind of stuff. And so remember, we need to add the words extends vacation. And so now, basically, when cruise extends vacation, cruise will now be taking from the vacation all of the time, or will have the same variables as vacation. And again, if I want to call the superclass here inside of the constructor, I would do super like that. And it should be the first line if you want to have it in there to call the superclass. And so I've built a cruise. I've built a cruise class that constructs cruise objects, which are also vacation objects. Okay, well, next I have this other class called road trip. So when I go back to my hierarchy here, we need to build this road trip class. So I've got a road trip class kind of ready to go here, but I need to kind of complete what there is about a road trip. Now, a road trip is a vacation. Okay, so I'm going to take road trip and I'm going to extends vacation. So I know that now all the road trip objects will contain vacation objects. And we'll set this one up pretty quick. Maybe I'll keep track of how many miles my road trip is. Maybe I'll do something new here. And this time with my road trip, since I'll be driving, I'm going to have my road trip contain an array list. And I'm going to call it states because I'm going to have an array list of states. Now, in order to do array lists, though, remember I would need an import statement. Import java.util. And now my array list is all cleaned up. It recognizes it. And I think that's all I will do for now. I think I'll just have two. How many miles and what states am I going to drive through? A list of states. So I'll make my constructor method here, public road trip. And inside there, I need to set up my state variables. So miles, I'm going to have this be a default. Miles is equal to 0. And I'll just make this one simple. States, remember, is an array list. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that equal a new array list. Notice up in the top here I did not put new array list in here. So this is where I'm going to build it. Okay, so I'm going to have, um, I've got an array list states declared, and I initialize it or set it up or actually create an array list right here inside of this road trip object. And just for the sake of adding another method on this object, I'm going to create a method called add state, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to add states that I'm going to plan on driving through here. And to add a state, remember what I need to do is call my states array list, states.add, and I'm going to add the parameter that is passed to me, the string a. So I've got a little method here that allows me to add a state onto the list whenever I feel like adding a state there. So I've got my road trip class all set up and ready to go. And that's it. So I have, let's see, I can put, again, I can go super inside here. And I've got it all set up, ready to go. And now I've covered two more parts of this inheritance hierarchy. But I need to talk about my sports road trip and my family road trip. A sports road trip is a road trip, and a road trip is a vacation. So I'm going to create this sports road trip here, and I'm going to create it, and it's going to extend road trip because a sports road trip is a road trip. So I am going to create my sports road trip and start declaring what a sports road trip may track. So a sports road trip, like maybe my soccer team or your football team or your softball team, I'm going to go public string and I'm going to keep track of what sport it is. And I'm also going to keep track of, I'm going to go wins and losses on this one. I'm going to keep track of how many wins and losses. That way maybe we keep track of our record on our road trip. And I'm going to build my constructor method, sports trip. And this one is going to contain a parameter, string s. I'm going to have the actual sport passed to me. So I'm going to assign sport equal to s. I'm going to assign wins equal to 0 because we will not have competed yet. Losses equal to 0. And actually, that's all I'm going to do here on this constructor method. So this is going to build me a sports road trip, which is a trip. It's a road trip, and it's also a vacation. So this contains a lot of power, has a lot of information hidden in here, as long as I add my extends up here. So this is going to extend, this is going to extends road trip. Okay, so now I've grabbed all of road trips code, and the road trip code has grabbed all the vacation code. It's kind of a big kind of chain grabbing from the superclass. So I'm going to add a method here, a public void win game. I'll add a method that's going to allow me to win a game here. And if I do that, I will increment wins. And of course, I'll also add a method that's called lost game. And that way I can take losses and I can increment losses and track how many losses we have. And so there I have it. I have a sports trip planned. Now lastly, I need to write my family trip. Okay, family trip, again, is going to extend, it extends a road trip. And I need to start declaring my variables for a family trip. Okay, now I'll try to add a little bit humor here for my family trip. So I'm going to have, let's see, public int. I'm going to keep it an integer variable. My integer variable here, which is going to be called number of potty stops. All right, and I'll have another variable, integer variable here called number of fights. Okay. And then we'll start to keep track of how many potty stops and how many fights we have on our family trip. If you've ever gone on a family road trip, maybe you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to also go public boolean. I'm going to call this fight in progress. All right, there we go. So now I need my constructor method. So I'm going to have a public family trip being created, my constructor method. Oops, sorry about that. And Inside that constructor method, I am going to assign some values. So number of potty stops. I'm going to set that equal to 0 right off the bat. Number of fights, maybe I'm just pre-planning. I'm going to put 100 on that one just for fun. And fight in progress. And I'm going to definitely make that true because for some reason that just seems to happen a lot on road trips, even though there's a lot of positive memories there during the family road. And in this class, I'm going to add 3 methods. So we'll have a public void stop fight so that we can stop all fights. I think it's called maybe put in a movie sometimes. Fight in progress. We would have to set that equal to false. That will stop the fight. And then, of course, we probably should have another method that starts fights. So I'm going to start a fight, and that would make fight in progress. That will make that equal to true. And my last method here, public void, I'll just call this potty stop because of course we're going to track how many potty stops we have. So we're going to have number of potty stops. And what we're going to do actually is just increment it, and we'll keep track of how many potty stops we have there. So what we've done is we've built this entire inheritance hierarchy here that really completes all classes that are found in this diagram. And I think that's where I'll stop this video. In the next video, I will maybe cover some coding and calling some classes and building some classes.